I just gotta say it. We beat ourselves. Simple as that. So, without further ado, let's do a review. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Drew, better known as RockChalk01, and today, yesterday, whenever you're watching this, the 23rd ranked Kansas Jayhawks headed down to Stillwater, Oklahoma to take on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, and unfortunately, KU fell short to the Pokes by a final score of 39-32. Yep, and to my opinion, we should have won this game. Simple. But unfortunately, a lot of miscues really hurt us. And that's why we ended up losing today. Now, were there some good things that went right with this game? Yes. Were there some bad things that happened in this game? You betcha. So with that being said, for those of you who do not know, I give positives and negatives about the game. I give a player of the game and a player who needs to improve. Without further ado, let's do it. Biggest positive in this game would be KU's passing game. Who would have thought that KU would be throwing the ball like no one's business? And it showed as KU outgained the Pokes in terms of the passing yard game, as KU finished with 410 passing yards, while Oklahoma State only had 336. I was impressed. I mean, we actually did pretty well throwing the ball. After not throwing the ball at all against UCF, we decided, let's just be an air raid attack and throw for 400 plus yards. Which is good, because now you can see that we have strengths on both sides of the offensive game in terms of running the ball and throwing it. So, it was a really good thing. So yeah, outgaining Oklahoma State on the passing game, easy positive for me. Picking up third downs and making sure Oklahoma State didn't really pick up third downs is also a positive, as KU did really well converting on third down, above 50%, which is saying something. KU finished 7 of 13 on third down efficiency, while the defense did well with Oklahoma State going forward on third down, as they were held to 6 of 15, so under 50%. Hey, that's some good signs that your defense is doing well when Oklahoma State isn't picking up on third down. And your offense is doing well when they're converting over 50% on third down. Huge bonus. So yeah, third down efficiency, doing well on that. That's also a positive. And the final positives I've got are kind of nitpicks, one of them actually being a push, as both teams had 3 penalties in this game, although KU had more in terms of yardage. KU had 3 penalties for 22, Oklahoma State had 3 penalties for 12. I consider it a push, but a lot of people might not consider it because of the yardage difference, but that's just me. And then the final one being a nitpick positive is that KU punted less than Oklahoma State, which is a huge bonus, as KU punted 3 times while Oklahoma State punted 4. So yeah, there's a lot of good things that ended up coming out of this game. And yeah, with all that said, those are my positives. Okay, negatives, where to start? KU did get outgained in this game total-wise, as Oklahoma State finished with 554 yards, while KU finished with an even 500, which kind of sucks, but both offenses were just going neck and neck against each other to see who would outgain who, and unfortunately, Oklahoma State got the nod, so that's a little negative there. Another negative, Oklahoma State's rushing game. Good Lord, this really killed us in retrospect. And the fact our rushing game was also non-existent. Oklahoma State finished with 218 rushing yards, while KU finished with 90, which is the lowest total in terms of rushing yards the entire season. Maybe Oklahoma State just read our rushing game like crazy and found the gaps that we would find against other teams. When it came to their rushing game, we just could not stop them. A lot of missed tackles, a lot of open holes. It was just chaotic. And shout out to Oklahoma's rushing coaches, mostly running backs coaches, because they saved this team from falling into obscurity in this game. So yeah, losing the rushing yard battle and just losing the run game in total, that's a negative. First downs. We cannot pick up first downs to save our lives. Well, let me rephrase that. We could, but we didn't pick up enough. Oklahoma State picked up 27 first downs in this game, while Kansas finished only with 19. Most of the time where that happens would be like third and shorts. And God, it just ails me why we do some stupid boneheaded decisions on those 3rd and shorts. And the fact that we couldn't really stop Oklahoma State from converting first downs, that's how you lose games. Not picking up first downs and letting Oklahoma State get them, also a negative. Another big negative, turnovers. That was the huge difference in this game, as KU had 2 interceptions thrown in this game. By the way, 2 interceptions thrown late in the game, and Oklahoma State had a big old goose egg. And those interceptions that were thrown should have been turned into points for KU. That's the big difference on why KU lost this game, is probably the turnovers. But it just sucks that happened. And again, a lot of people are going to complain that the first interception that was thrown was caused by Mother Nature. I'm not buying it. I looked at the replays. I think he just lofted it too much. Other than that, the second one was just dumb. So with all that said, turnovers, that's a negative as well. Another negative, 4th down efficiency, because oh boy, KU could not convert a single lick on 4th down. They were 0 for 2, while Oklahoma State didn't even have to try a 4th down conversion. But why I'm saying that the 4th downs are a big negative is because the play calling stunk. Why on earth would you decide to throw it on 4th and 3 in enemy territory to begin with, and then it ends up leading to Jason Bean running all over the place with basically his head cut off? And then the second one, a 4th and 1, and we set up a freaking fullback screen that ended up being batted down in a turnover on downs. Why didn't we just run the ball? Especially on the last 2 drives. Daniel and Devin were averaging roughly 4, maybe 5 yards per carry. And we decided, no, we're not even going to let them pick up 1 in this situation to give us momentum. Stupid! 4th down efficiency and the dumb play calls there, that's a negative as well. Another negative that isn't on the stat sheet at all, special teams miscues. Good Lord. We had not 1, not 2, but 3 miscues when it came to extra point or 2-point conversion situations. It's so stupid. So the first time that it happened was when KU was trying to come back. They were down 17-7. They ended up scoring, and then the extra point got blocked. The second one, KU then takes the lead by 2, tries to go for the extra point. The holder botches the snap and then tries to run around with it. They call it a 2-point conversion. I'd still consider it a PAT block, something like that. And then the third one would be after KU scores again, we go for it for 2 and we miss it. Seriously? We had 5 points that could have been on the board and we just pistan it away. So yeah, special teams miscues is also a negative. And that's pretty much it. So with all that said, those are my negatives. Player of the game. Now, there is 3 guys who are honorable mentions. Yes, 3 of them, because they had stellar games. And all 3 of them were receivers and tight end as well. The first one being Trevor Wilson. 4 catches for 86 yards, 21.5 yards per catch, and a touchdown. Wow, I have never seen Trevor Wilson have this remarkable game besides him on special teams. But this is probably his best receiving game at KU. So good for him. The second guy being Quentin Skinner. Thank the Lord he finally got some catches. 2 catches, 91 yards, 45.5 yards per catch, 2 touchdowns. That is a perfect day for Quentin Skinner. After pretty much being non-existent for 2 weeks, he finally got the results he needed. And it led to 2 scores. So good for Quentin. And the final honorable mention being Mason Fairchild, the senior tight end, was also KU's leading receiver. 5 catches for 95 yards, 19 yards per reception, and 2 touchdowns. Probably Mason's best game as a Jayhawk, give or take. But after giving him a couple player who needs to improve early in the year, this was a game that he stood out like a sore thumb. And a couple of his touchdown passes, he was left all alone. I mean, there was one where no one was around him. He could have just walked it into the end zone. But congrats to Mason. He had a remarkable game. But unfortunately, all three of those guys don't stand up to the player of the game. Which leads me to my player of the game. And although he had 2 costly turnovers, it's without a doubt Jason Bean. My gosh, the coaches just said, hey, air it out, kid. And air it out he did. Bean was 23 of 34 for 410 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Now, if I'm not mistaken, those 5 touchdowns is second most in KU history for most touchdown passes in a game, only behind Todd Reesing's 6, which he threw against Nebraska. But let me put it this way. Bean changed a lot from the game against Texas, the game against UCF, to the game against Oklahoma State, where you have him against Texas. He had the yards, he had a couple touchdowns, but he was very inaccurate. Then you go to the UCF game. He was accurate, but didn't have the yardage or the touchdowns to really back it up. This time, he had the accuracy, he had the yardage, he had more touchdowns than a lot of people expected, and then some, which includes the interceptions. But a lot of things were improving with Jason Bean when it comes to his passing game. So, yeah, this is without a doubt, in my eyes, a clear-cut candidate for player of the game. So, yeah, with all that said, Jason Bean's my player of the game. Player who needs to improve, it really comes down to which running back I want to give it to. I think Devin had the better game retrospectively, so I'm going to give it to Daniel Highshaw. Highshaw finished with 8 carries for 24 yards, an average of 3 yards per carry. Ultimately, I just don't think Daniel really found any holes whatsoever. And yeah, only getting 8 touches in this game really says something. But hopefully within the next couple of weeks and then some, he'll be able to find the holes, get in the end zone, and we'll all be happy-go-lucky people. But unfortunately for now, I've got to give Daniel Highshaw my player who needs to improve. All right, before we go, I do have a couple top plays, and the first one I've got, we begin in the second quarter. As Kansas was trailing 17-13, Mason Fairchild was left all alone, and Jason Bean was able to connect with him 44 yards down the field for an easy touchdown that gave KU a 19-17 lead. So, here's Mason's big touchdown. And the final top play I've got, we go to the third quarter. As Kansas started with the ball to begin the second half, Kansas needed a big boost to extend their 1-point halftime lead. And wouldn't you know it, Jason Bean connected with one of his receivers, this time being Quentin Skinner for his second touchdown of the game to extend KU's lead to 8. So here's Q Skin's big touchdown reception. Although the win didn't happen, those 2 plays were big in this ball game for KU. So with that said, those are my top plays. And that's going to do it for my review of KU versus Oklahoma State. Again, the final score, Oklahoma State 39, Kansas 32. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe, and push that notification bell. Tell your friends about these videos. And I should see you again for the next KU review, as the Hawks will return home after a bye week to David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium, take on the country's most powerful teams, the Oklahoma Sooners, which should be a good one. And it is also Oklahoma's last time facing KU as members of the Big 12, and it'll be the last time that they face off at the booth as conference members. But we will see if that holds up when they're non-conference opponents. But until then, have a good day. Never ever bring exotic dancers to the field house, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.